lesson, we'll talk about how to get a good random sample using a random number table. But before we do that, I first want to give you another note suggestion. For this lesson, you'll fill out the back of your flipbook. Now let's get started with how to use random number tables to get a good random sample. In other lessons, we discussed the names in the hat method. This is the easiest way to obtain a good SRS or simple random sample. Given a population, every person's name goes in the hat. Next, you shake the hat. Then you choose the number of names needed for the sample. Now, you might laugh when I say shake it up, but that's what makes it random. So if you're going to describe taking a random sample using names in a hat, make sure you shake it up. Now, you might be thinking, really? That's all I do? I just put my names in the hat? Yes, if you're asked the question, what's the easiest way to get a good random sample and how would you do it? And you have a choice, that's the easiest one to describe. But sometimes you may be asked the question, how would you choose a random sample using the random number table? That's what we're going to talk about now. A random number table is a series of random digits, like the one that you see here. Each digit has an equal chance of being chosen, and it can be used to choose an SRS. When you have to use a random number table to get a sample, there are 4 things I want you to remember. Label, table, stop, and identify. Let's go through each one of these. The first step is label, and this means to label every member of your population with a number, using the same number of digits per person. For example, label a population of 150 from 001 to 150. Now be careful on this one. Every person has to be assigned the same number of digits, or you won't be able to read across the random number table using the same pattern. Whether it be every 2 digits or every 3 digits or so on. You can't have one person labeled number 1 and another person labeled 50, because this person has 1 digit and that person has 2 digits. To solve that problem, you label from 01 to 50. That gives everybody the same number of digits. If you have 150, then you'd label 001 to 150. So the first thing you want to do is label everyone in your population. Now, let's go to the second step, table. In your flipbook, you'll want to write down, read across the random number table, blank digits at a time, ignoring numbers outside of your range and repeats. You could fill in the blank with 1, 2, 3, or however many digits you need. What I mean by ignoring numbers outside of your range and repeats is the following. If I was choosing a random sample from a population of 50 people, I'd label them 01 to 50. If I came across the number 72, nobody has that label, so I want to ignore that. I'm ignoring numbers out of my range. What if I pick the number 28, and then later down the road, 28 comes up again? I can't pick that person again for my sample, so I'm going to ignore any repeats. Now, how do I do this on paper? We'll get to that in a bit. The third step is stop. This means to stop when you've reached the desired number of people in your sample. What you want to make sure you do is also tell the reader when to stop. You want to say, I'm going to stop after I get 4 people, or whatever the question is asking for. The last step is identify. You need to identify the numbers chosen for the sample. In other words, you need to figure out who those people are. Let's say it's persons 28, 22, 01, and 45. Now you have a complete solution to choosing a sample using a random number table. Be sure and address each one of these steps to properly describe selecting an SRS. Now let's look at an example. In example 1, a teacher needs to choose 2 students from a class of 33 to attend a school meeting. Explain how to use the number table shown to choose an SRS of 2 students from her class. Pause the video while you work on this, then restart once you're ready. Okay, I'll walk you through the solution to this one so you can see everything that you need to completely answer this question and show your results. We'll start by following the 4 steps we just went over on how to choose an SRS. The first step is label. For example 1, we need to first label the population of students. So let's look at how many people there are. It looks like there are 33 people, so I will label the students from 01 to 33. Could you have used 00 to 32? Sure. As long as everyone has a unique number, you can label them whichever way you want. For this example, we'll stick with the label 01 to 33. The second step is table. For example 1, we'll use a table given to us. We're going to read across the random number table 2 digits at a time, ignoring numbers outside of the range 01 to 33 and repeats. Here's what you should have on your paper for the table. The first number is 21. That's in my range, so I'm going to circle that. That's the person I'm choosing for my sample. The next number is 92, which I ignore because that's outside of my range. The same with the next number, 74, ignore. I'm going to ignore any numbers that's outside of my range until I get to that second person. That's person 02. The third step is stop. Once I've chosen these 2 people, I stop because the question says to stop after 2 people are chosen. The fourth step is identify. I need to identify who these 2 people are. So I say the 2 people chosen are person 21 and person 02. Now let's look at example number 2. For each of the following, explain how you would label the population to take the appropriate sample. A, choosing a sample of 4 out of a population of 10. B, choosing a sample of 4 out of a population of 25. C, choosing a sample of 12 out of a population of 100. D, choosing a sample of 150 out of a population of 750, and E, choosing a sample of 150 out of a population of 3,000. Take a few minutes to try this on your own, and then we'll continue. Here's a solution to example number 2. For part A, label 10 people 0 to 9. When labeling 10 people, you could say 01 to 10, that's fine, but I was a little bit more clever. I decided to label the 10 people from 0 to 9. I did this because you always want to try and use the least number of digits possible. This is because when you go across the random number table, there are less numbers to ignore. So it'll be a little more efficient. Now here's the solution for part B. Label the 25 people 01 to 25. The solution for part C can vary like part A. You have 100 people here, and you could use 001 to 100, but I'm going to label 100 people 00 to 99. That way I'm using less digits. The solution for part D is labeled as 750 people, 001 to 750. And the solution for part E is labeled with 3,000 people, 0001 to 3000. You could also be asked, how would you use a random number generator? In this age of technology, people aren't really using random number tables anymore. They're using calculators and computers to pick random numbers for us. Now, that doesn't mean forget everything we just did. The concept is still the same, and having multiple approaches is always advantageous. So instead of using a random number table, which is sort of outdated, we could use a random number generator on a calculator or computer. The method label, table, stop, identify still works, except there is no table. Here's what you would write instead. Use a random number generator to generate blank unique numbers within the range blank and blank. For example, a question might ask, explain how you would use a random number generator to choose a sample. The only difference is that instead of using the table, you just explained what you would do with a random number generator. You would say, I would tell the random number generator to generate 5 numbers between 01 and 50. Actually, you should say 5 unique numbers. Then you don't have to talk about ignoring numbers out of the range and repeats. Now let's test what you've learned so far with a check for understanding. A teacher needs to choose 4 students from a class of 45 to represent the class at a student council forum. She would like to choose 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores to attend. She has 10 freshmen and 35 sophomores in her class. Explain how to use a random number generator to choose a random sample of 4 students. Take a few minutes to try this on your own, and then we'll continue. Let's look at the check for understanding solution. This is how it should be written when showing your answer. Label the 10 freshmen 0 to 9 or 01 to 10. Have the random number generator generate 2 unique numbers between your chosen range. The 2 freshmen that were assigned those numbers are chosen for the student council forum. Label the sophomores 01 to 35. Have the random number generator generate 2 unique numbers between 1 and 35. The 2 sophomores that were assigned those numbers are chosen for the student council forum. Now it's time for the wrap-up. After this lesson, you should be able to explain how to use a random number table to choose a random sample, use a random number table to choose a random sample, and lastly, explain how to use a random number generator to choose an SRS. I want you to be prepared to choose a random sample given a table or a random number generator. This concludes our lesson on random number tables and generators. Remember, you can review this video as many times as needed for better understanding. Thanks for watching.